Okay, this isn't in real time. This is actually about a week after the first video. And where should we start? Well, let's start talking about the back piece. So, the back of the phone robot. As I talked about in the first one, originally I was thinking of just using the plastic box insert, which will drop down all the way down in there, and then the wires push through these little holes and the whole pack slides in. But when you put the positive batteries down in there, you then have to fight this. You'd need like a shoehorn to get the top one in. So I have designed a battery box in PLA that'll have my own springs and contacts to fit in there. Haven't printed it out yet. On the inside, we talked about there's holes for the sound to come out, and this is where the speaker is going to mount, right up in there, and the sound chip device will basically be glued right onto the back of this speaker to keep all that out of the way. There is the place for the mounting of the switch, which you tuck in from the inside before you put the battery pack in, and then screw it in. And of course, it'd be nice if you already had your wire soldered on, because otherwise you're going to have a hard time reaching in. But this is a one-off project, you know, a custom project for another person. So on the body front, I have all of my mounting configurations figured out, and the slots, of course, for the pin walkers and the holes for the 10mm leads. I have a mounting spot for the index finger for the wheel, and the mounting for the motor that I'm going to be using to drive the pin walking. I got sunlight coming in the window making weird shadows. Even though I don't have the motor set up, they do give very complete dimensional information on the back. So based off all of that, I designed all of this. And I left this big empty space, because the motor bolts on top here, as a good place to tuck in all the extra wires from the servos, because they all have really long wires. So I can bundle all that up in there and then just route what I need up into the head, and the head areas where I'm hoping to put the Mini Maestro 6-channel controller. So, for example, just see these servos laying here. This is where that would go, and it would get screwed in with a screw in the top and a screw in the bottom. And then, of course, from the front, you'd have the dial ring, which would fit onto the servo, and the normal servo screw would go through the center to lock that in place. Then you have your servos for turning the crank, and there's a place where they would nest in here, and the other one's going to nest in for the claw arm over on this side, like so. And in both cases, I'm planning on taking 2mm thread stock, threading it into the end of the servo so it comes clear out to the end of the arm here, and bring it out extra long, so once I get the arm, the rubber grommets, the washers, and the nuts and all that figured out, then I can cut that to the proper length. So if all of that fits together right, then of course there would be the two halves together, and that brings us down to the bottom. Have a tip foot, which is going to fit on like that, be held on with a screw front and rear, so that when the robot walks, the foot can stay flat on the ground as the pin moves. It doesn't have to tip much, just has to tip a little, like so. So in the next video, hopefully we'll have the servos and electronics and stuff mounted, and we'll be doing some programming with a little bit of luck. And I'll have more of the parts printed up, including the back door cover and all of that good kind of stuff. Also, this is just in white because that's what I had on hand, waiting for the gold PLA to arrive, because the main parts are going to be printed in gold.